help came from a most unexpected source. In the wealthy suburbs of Philadelphia, close to where the Ferrells live, is the headquarters of the Divine Peace Mission, one of America's many obscure Christian cults. It was started by Father Divine, who campaigned for the homeless over 30 years ago. His widow gave them a run-down hotel. It's now called Trevor's Place.
Trevor and his parents had been coming to the Peace Mission from time to time for a number of years. And naturally, when Trevor got interested in the street people, well, we knew that their hearts were in the right place and that whatever they were doing was sincere and genuine. And I knew that they had the love that is necessary for this type of work. We were happy to let them have the home that is now called Trevor's Place. The Peace Mission movement hadn't been using this particular building for a short period of time, and it just seemed to be the proper place for them, because you couldn't take people off the street and put them into too elegant surroundings.
Elegant it certainly isn't. Poplar Street on the north side of the city is an unattractive and sometimes a frightening place. The surroundings are squalid, and you'll have a job to get a taxi driver to take you up there at night. But behind the dilapidated facade, as many as 30 or 40 people have found a pride in their first real home. Trevor found Chico drunk on the streets a year ago. He's now a special friend. The Alfredo family have just arrived. Finding a haven at Trevor's Place has meant the family can stay together.
They called around for us when they were trying to split us up. One of the sisters at the church helped find this place for us. And they came and talked to Lydia and helped us get in, because it's hard to get in here because they're looking for people that's going to better themselves. And I think that's a good idea. They give you everything here to work with. It's no reason to be dirty or nothing. That you hit with whatever kind of soap or anything you need, even wax for the floor, they give it to you. If only reason you would be dirty here is because you want to be.
The house is run by 2 full-time workers and some volunteers, but it keeps going financially entirely through voluntary donations. For Janet Ferrell, it's probably the most interesting part of the campaign, and she likes to be there for the regular meetings. Nancy Fisher is a professional social worker. The house is vital. For those who get there, it's an important first step out of the gutter.
Okay, a lot of strengths. Now, we all know, we've gone through this again and again and again. Number one is provide a supportive community or supportive network, and to help people get a sense of support, and then also I think that gives them courage to look at themselves as they are in a supportive community and to discover their own inner resourcefulness. People tend to find us, which is interesting. Many people see the Trevor's van and downtown, or news media. They know about Trevor's Place, and they'll ask other people on the streets where it is. So many people tend to find us. Joe, for example, too, was on the streets about a year and a half ago, and very depressed, very irritable, difficult to live with, hot-tempered, is now easygoing. Every once in a while he gets hyper, and has his license, his driver's license.
As well as driving the van, Joe is studying for a general education certificate and is almost ready to take his exams. At the age of 52, he's now thinking about college. He just couldn't have done it without Trevor's Place.
There is an address, there is a residence, and if you don't have a residence and are on the streets, you're not eligible to benefits, so it makes a big difference to have that residence.
How much help do you get from the city?
Nothing at this point. There have been several attempts made. There's been recognition of Trevor and the campaign by Mayor Good, the recognition dinner, and I think that Frank and several other people, or Frank primarily, has contacted Mayor Good personally There have been promises, but there's been nothing.
We tried to speak to Mayor Good, too, for 3 weeks without success. The plight of the street people seems to be a problem most of Philadelphia wants to ignore.
Well, something drastically does have to be done, and the people in general have to make some changes. There's something the matter with our society when we have this type of problem. It certainly should not be here in America.
And least of all in the city of brotherly love. For too long, most of America has been ignoring a major problem on its own doorstep, a circular downward spiral of no job, therefore no money, so no home, so no benefit, and still no job. But Trevor's attempts to deal with the situation at its most basic level are now at last having an effect. All the awards on the walls of his room are in recognition of what he's done in the past 2 years, and next year he'll be the United States representative for homelessness at the United Nations. And there's still a residue of what life used to be like for the Ferrell family. Behind the public campaigner is the 13-year-old boy with his computer and his posters, although for him, some of his pictures have a special meaning. He's met and talked to President Reagan, and Steven Spielberg is planning to make a film about him. But it hasn't gone to his head.
I just went to his office and he wanted to do the movie, he said. He was just a neat guy, and we talked about how E.T. worked, and he talked to me about what the people were like on the streets.
I think he's the same. It's kind of hard to something has to suffer, schoolwork, that is what is suffering. It's just difficult to do all that he does. And his social life suffers.
And he has to cope with all the regular problems of being a 13-year-old, like school, for instance. Trevor's never been good at school. He has a mild form of dyslexia and has always found studying hard.
Trevor's been with us for a year and a half now, and I know that there were some difficulties that he had in his earlier schooling. Last year, what we tried to do was approach Trevor as if he were the same as every other kid in the world, and tried to make the demands upon his time and workload the same as they would be for any other student. And we did that intentionally so that he would have a life at school that would be just like every other kid, even though he was doing extraordinary things outside of school. And frankly, that approach didn't work very effectively. I think the advantages are that he's been exposed to things that most of us won't ever be exposed to in our lifetime, on both ends. And that is, he's seen squalor and he's seen hardship that most of us aren't even aware exists. On the other hand, he's got to meet presidents and people of all kinds of high station. You know, I don't ever expect to have that happen to me. And that's hard for a kid to have to deal with.
Mrs. Roney said you must turn that algebra book in.
I know, I'm going to have Mom drive it as soon as I finish it.
Do you have much to do in there?
Some 10 pages. Have Mom take it on Friday.
10 pages?
Yeah, 10 pages.
And you're going to have that ready by Friday?
By Friday, yeah.
Despite all the changes in Trevor's life, sometimes all Frank can see is a small boy growing up.
You don't want to?
No.
He gets so many calls from girls that want to call up and date him or talk